Hi everyone, this is my video where I'll be analyzing my games from the Cape Town Masters 2025. Some interesting games, I must say. I was enjoying the event until, of course, the abrupt end. But yeah, let's dive straight into it. So my first round opponent was Mncwabe. Let's go. I had the black pieces. Let's flip this around since I'll be giving my opinion on the matter. I've got the black pieces. Mncwabe always a difficult opponent. He plays really fast, so he's a practical player. But yeah, we spoke a bit after the game. I gave my humble opinion. I think his time management it puts a lot of pressure on his opponent, but he needs to slow down at here and there. Not completely just play the normal game, but just I think there was a couple of moments where he could have actually almost put me away. So I was on the ropes, and he had some chances to actually win the game. So he played really, really well in this game. Let's see. So he's got the white pieces. And Mncwabe usually surprises me. I think last year I played in the Cape Town Masters as well. He played e4. This time around some English. And I go with one of my reliable setups here that I saw from Bobby Fischer a long time ago. Pawn to e6, just keeping it solid. e4 is a bit strange. I think usually the knight goes to e2 with the setup. I believe it's known as the Botvinnik setup, right? So with the knight on e2, you have the extra option of pushing f4. It's not completely horrible, but yeah, it looks a bit strange with the knight on f3. Yeah, I would probably just recommend something like d3 or even e3 and d4. I think that's what Charles de Villiers played against me. I think Steinitz Open or something like this a couple of years ago. So e4, knight e7, pawn to d3, and knight e1. Okay, so now I was kind of happy, but of course it's clear White wants to play f4 at some point. White wants to go f4, and the knight doesn't look too bad. The knight can reroute to c2, so typical maneuvering in this English-like position. Pawn to b6. Now, yeah, I was thinking for the first time, just because my opponent kind of is playing it passively, and I'm actually regretting not playing the idea that I initially thought of, which was going a6 over here with rook b8 and b5. For some reason, I just wanted to stick to the initial setup that I was going for, which is also a bit passive. So giving White a bit too much respect here. Probably I should have gone a6, rook b8 and b5. Instead, I went b6, not really putting pressure on White, but I think the other idea is once you are solid there, eventually, if you are developed, you can strike with d5. So bishop to f4, another bit of a surprise, strange move. Of course, I have to glance at knight b5, but after a bit of inspection, I didn't see anything dangerous about it, so I continued. Queen to d2. So, okay, White is kind of aiming at this, but okay, this bishop is strong, but it's not a complete disaster for Black to trade these dark squared bishops, as these pawns kind of hint that this is a bad bishop, right? So I'm not completely against trading dark squared bishops, but this is an asset over there. I don't know, maybe rook e8 is to be considered over there. I went knight to d4. So yeah, I put the knight on a good square. Bishop h6, queen d7, we trade, knight c2, and maybe yeah, I make a bit of an inaccuracy. Let's actually switch on the engine to see. I got the engine on. Yeah, you can see the eval bar more or less equal. And then I play d5, which kind of swings it the other way, but it's still equal, right? So White wants to trade off the strong knight, of course. My thoughts were, let's say I could play something like knight takes c2 and go knight c6. This was my initial idea, but after f4, let's say knight d4 and queen d. Usually with this f4 idea, Black wants to counter with f5, but now all of a sudden I don't want to trade these two bishops. Still kind of want to have My dream is to have the good knight versus the bad bishop, but it's okay. It's not easily realizable here, right? So I didn't want to have this f5 looming over my head, which is still probably fine here. Bracket could have played f5. But when the bishop trades, then it's like knight versus knight, which I didn't want. So I went with d5. I thought it was the right moment to strike in the center. I think the engine says, what does the engine say? Takes, and d5 then. This was the proper way of doing it. And we will see that I actually gave my opponent something to do. So he could have taken on, so he went rook a1, right? Clearly watching out for my opening up of the d file. There's a little trick just to point out, let's say a3 or something random, we take. And do you see the tactic? The eval bar, of course, sees it. The queen is hanging on d2. So knight f3 check, picks up the queen. There's a little trick, and he immediately protects the queen. Now, I think white could have taken on d5. This is what I initially just, I don't know, I slipped up because if I capture on d5 now, then white is in time now to take on d4 first, and then he can maybe play takes here. Okay, I calculated this. It didn't seem to be so horrible. It's just equal though. This pawn is very advanced. Okay, white has a bit less space, but white is compact. I don't think you see anything wrong with his position. But black definitely doesn't have an advantage. I see the engine even recommends knight e2 here. It's a better position for white. Because the d4 pawn maybe becomes a weakness, right? So, and white can maybe later on expand if possible. Can expand, open up that position. So, yeah, I missed this. So therefore, I needed to take on c2 first and then do that. So my opponent missed it. He's playing a bit too quickly. He played the rook d1. And here again, I must take on c2. I went rook d. Oh, I took on c2. I was considering a rook d8 actually, but then something similar would happen, like we've just discussed. But again, I should have taken on c2 and then played d4, grabbing space. But I couldn't really see a long-term plan here. I knew I was definitely fine with pawns on the right color and all of this. But again, I didn't feel like playing f5, even though the agent says it's a top move. Trading off these bishops is a possibility, right? But it's clear that black has got a lot more space. If white ever takes over here, we take on g2. And okay, agent says rook takes a5 is possible. She takes a5. We can expand later on. Well, black is doing great, but okay, I did not fully grasp this at the moment being so much better for black. It's plus minus 0.78ish. So I took on c4, and I was kind of banking on this good, lovely square of the knight. I'm bolstering it. He captured. Of course, I'm reinforcing the threat of knight takes, knight f3 check. The queen is hanging. So, yeah, I guess white cannot tolerate this knight forever, right? Then eventually I've got another pony coming in over there I could use. So he captures, I capture. He goes knight e2, e5, and he finds this lovely blockading square for his knight. I go a5. Rook b1, and he's looking at this pawn to b4 break. And I just need to watch out for him getting activity there. Of course, white also has this break on f4. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I am thinking about the long-term possibility of this bishop being bad. Just keep that in mind. I don't want to trade off any of my minor pieces for that bishop. I want that knight because the pawns are fixed on the right color for me and the wrong color for that bishop. So bishop a6 is a move trying to prevent b4 for now. I'm putting pressure on c4. He goes rook c1. I go queen e6 again, trying to stall from playing b4. Even though b4, the engine says I could have allowed the pawn to b3. I was happy to see that. And then I started preparing myself for any opening of the queen side. f6, I can see f4 coming, right? So prophylaxis it again. And now my opponent swung around the other side. And again, he's playing relatively fast. I'm on 41 minutes left. And my opponent is still on an hour and 18 minutes. So clearly, he's not putting too much effort into strategy here. He's got a good grasp of strategy, but it's nothing too deep, I would say, at the moment. Whereas he could have maybe spent a bit more time at some point. So queen e7. And now he realizes that I want to play pawn to b5. So if white does something like f4, I'm going to play b5, and this bishop all of a sudden becomes very active, right? So he senses that, and he goes a4. And now I've got a sad... at this point, I was kind of feeling a bit not so happy, because my initial idea was to trade off this knight, right? But now if I go knight b4 and he captures, let's just say I play queen takes. Let's say I'm happy trading queens. Then, okay, black is better, but I have 0 pawn breaks on the queen side left. Right, so I've got nothing to do on the queen side. This passed pawn can't just roll by. He's going to blockade it, of course. And whenever I try to open up the king side, this bishop is going to gain life. So I don't see a nice way of winning this game over here, even if I keep the queens on the board. So I had to maneuver a bit. And of course, white is playing f4. My whole game plan is based on the center and in the queen side. I don't want to open up the king side to help his light square bishop. So I go knight d8. My plan is to either get my knight to b7 and c5 or e6 and c5. But the point is, I want to get that knight on d3. I want to remove it. So back to the game, knight d8, f4, knight b7. Engine says knight f7 is better, apparently. Okay, but let's move on. We've got some more games to analyze as well. Rook f2, knight c5. He captures. I thought that he should have taken on e5 first, but apparently the engine still loves this for black, because, I mean, he's not in time here. I told him out the game, maybe he should have considered this, but now I'm realizing that even after knight takes, I don't need to take here. I can perhaps take on f2 first. I'll probably just take on c5, but yeah, I would take on c5. This is still quite fine here for black. And just an example, rook takes, and the engine is actually loving this. Something like this. Clearly, black has got trumps in the position. Got the better bishop, even though my bishop does seem a bit passive for now. We've got a weakness over there. The pawns are on the right color. We've got a protected passed pawn. Something like queen g5, we just play queen f6, and we offer the trade of queens. And this endgame is clearly better for black. So, okay, that was a possibility, but instead he captured on c5. The engine gives rook to b1, but all the lines lead to black being slightly better. Anyway, the long-term pluses are there for me. So takes, I play queen takes. He takes on e5, and here I decide to play queen takes. Again, the engine wants me to play pawn takes. So he's just keen to trade off queens and then simplify. Play the queen and bishop endgame. Okay, I go here. My d4 pawn is weak. I protect. And now I start putting pressure on this isolated pawn over there. And of course, he cannot win the pawn yet. If we trade queens, then my pawn is protected. Trades. And okay, black is clearly better here, right? So, trading rooks. So, if you evaluate the pieces here, right? All black's pieces are decent. White has healthy rooks. Well, they don't look healthy right now, but they can get to an open file, right? But the bishop is still poorly placed. Not poorly placed, just the bishop is poor because of all of these pawns that are stuck on the same color. Right? That's an important feature in the position. And my pawns are on the correct color for my bishop to flourish. So notice these pawns on the other side, they are not stuck. They are still mobile. So if white ever thinks about trading pieces, he should try to trade off his bad bishop, which he cannot enforce right now, right? But don't trade off your good pieces, what you have left. White has 2 out of 3 pieces that are good. I've got 3 out of pieces. So that's why this move, rook f1, is a mistake. My opponent allows me to trade off some pieces. By the way, one last thing. Black's, I think one of my main strategies here, besides trading off his rooks, is to enter into his position. If we imagine a king pawn endgame, or king and bishop versus king and bishop, my king needs to enter on the dark squares. The sad thing about the pawns being on the same color, nobody's protecting the other color. King will have to do that. So my plan is to run up there with my king. Once my king reaches these squares over here, with rooks on or not, it will be super active, and that's the winning plan. Rook f1, we trade. And I'm happy to just throw my king toward this. And I, of course, need to keep an eye on my opponent trying something active. King e3, and now I'm controlling the open file. And here, of course, he goes rook b2, and he wants to play b4. So, for instance, if I go king d6, he wants to try b4. And if I take and he takes now, I cannot go king c5 because of maybe rook b5 check, right? There's something small over there. Of course, I have other moves here, but I don't want to calculate this unnecessarily. So I go bishop a6, and the point is now that if he goes b4 and this, then I can go rook c6, and I've got him kind of like in a bind over here, and my king can come closer. I was actually intending to play king d7. I was considering king d7, and then king c6 and king c5. And this is actually just crushing as well. Because if a5 takes and rook a4, then I have rook c6, and he cannot hold on to this. If it takes on a5, I take check, and then my king is just in time to protect the e5 pawn. I'm a clear pawn up in the winning position. So yeah, I was quite happy. Yeah, I was already in cruise control, king e2, and my king just needs to reach that square. Okay, so I go bishop c8, just not even allowing this bishop to find the light of day over there. Just slowly activating my pieces, put the pawn on the right color. And yeah, so king rook d3, king c5. The point is that I want this pawn on the right color, and one day, even if I get my king here, I cannot enter yet, right? I can maybe try to do something like this, but I would most likely put my king here and try h5, h4. Once I remove this g3 pawn, I can attack this one over there. So it's a slow breakdown of white's position. White can't really do much. He's very passive here. He goes g4. That's a clear mistake, right? That makes my life much easier. And the e4 pawn dropped, and that's basically it. There's many ways of doing it, but after that, the game was done, and I felt like I allowed my opponent some chances in the game. But checking with the engine afterwards, I see it wasn't too bad of a game. It's a bit of a rusty start. I still felt like it was. As I haven't been playing as last time I played the Western Province League last year, a couple of months ago. So this was a decent start against a good opponent. So yeah, let's move on to the second round. Let's move on to round 2. What did I play in round 2? Okay, so this is the sad one. There was another default here, guys. I was involved in 2 defaults in the tournament. So round 2, I was paired up against Eugene Milford. Seemed like quite a nice chap. But okay, I had the white pieces, and I made my move c4, and my opponent wasn't there yet. And I waited for about 20 minutes, and then he rocked up. Clearly, he was just late, and he made his move. So you can see he spent almost 20 minutes there, basically from being late. And then I responded knight c3 and knight c6. And then Dr. Mncwabe came around. I thought maybe they knew each other because he was asking something and he was looking in his pockets. Maybe he was looking for a key to give. You know, at these tournaments, people ask for keys and stuff like this when you're still playing. And then my opponent just came back and extended his hand, and he's like what's this? I thought it was a joke, but he got defaulted for having his cell phone on him. So very sad. I was quite disappointed. Looking forward to playing the game. Very unfortunate for my opponent. So I wouldn't ask this to happen to anyone. If I could, of course, continue to play, I would, but this is just automatic default. So that's the sad part, and that's why, yeah, okay, I guess we didn't put the kings in the center. That's why you'll see that knight. I was just started backing the board, right? So, but this was the end of the game. So very unfortunate for Mr. Milford over there. Let's go to round 3. Round 3. So I'm on 2 out of 2. And I'm playing on board 4 against Andre Schutte. Of course, Andre Schutte, very experienced player from Western Province. I remember when I joined, when I came to Cape Town and I joined the Western Province League as a youngster, playing with Steinitz, of course. I saw Schutte, and he was, one of the players you really need to show up and bring your best. So I, of course, know him as a very capable player. So let's see. I've got the white pieces. Again, it's So d4, d5, he plays the Slav, knight f3. So this, I don't know what you call this half diamond setup, but I go queen c2, just trying to stick to my Catalan type of setup, everything going pretty standard stuff. a5. So I thought my opponent, he was thinking a bit long, but yeah, after a5, I don't know if this is something he's looked at before or he's prepared for me specifically, but it's a bit of a modern move, right? a5. Nowadays, quite fashionable against the Catalan, of course. Most people know I play the Catalan, so maybe he did prep. So I was trying to figure out what to do. I played a stock standard move. You can kind of close your eyes and play this move if you want to. It's kind of just hinders black from ideas of e5 and c5 for now, with the rook glaring at the queen at the other side. Knight bd7. And yeah, I play a bit of a strange move. I was trying to figure out, because usually black plays a5, but they include the bishop b4 check, and the bishop stands on d2, and then they drop back, right? So I was trying to figure out what's the difference here. Maybe, just maybe, I should have played knight bd2 here, taking advantage of my bishop that is not standing on d2, and then just go for e4 straight away. If I can get this going, then I think I'm doing excellent here, because the a5 move wouldn't be so relevant. I was contemplating this is of course part of the idea of a5, right? But yeah, I mean c5, and I'm going e4 either way, and the c6 pawn can be an issue sometimes. So even if black does something like, let's say example, this to activate this bishop, then e4 becomes really strong. Okay, knight takes e4 is an idea, but knight e5 is even stronger. We think c6, and if takes, you can see the rook again eyeing the queen there, and knight takes e4, and there's a beautiful square. Okay, black has a nice knight there, but this is a nice square, and yeah, engine gives it plus 1.8 over here. So my thinking process was that, okay, if I take here, so I missed this 95 earlier, right? Then I know, okay, this is possible. But okay, besides the fact that I'm just hanging on c5, there's a tactic. Okay, apparently white is still okay, but in this position, it seems like this bishop is not the best piece. So I thought I'll just accelerate this idea, not accelerate the idea, but enhance this idea with a completely new concept to me. I just came up with this at the board. I played bishop g5. I played bishop g5 with the idea of doing the same thing, knight bd2 and e4, but once black goes there. So again, let's make some random move here for black. Let's go with king h8, and then knight bd2 and b5 and c5 and b4. The point is now that I want to go e4, and I want to trade the dark squared bishops. And now I have an ideal setup, right? Again, remember we spoke about the bad bishop and the good bishop. These pawns are kind of stuck on the correct color, and my opponent his bishop is suffering there with this weakness over there. The knight will jump in, and yeah. So this was my idea with bishop g5. What did he play? He went d takes c4, completely surprised me. h6 again, I was willing to just take and then go a knight bd2 and e4, maybe knight c3 as well, and e4. That was my point. So he goes d takes c, which surprised me. After a long thought, I took, because I thought he was going to play something like e5 over here. Maybe e5, because now if I take here, then he plays knight takes e5, and the rook's hanging, the queen's hanging. I don't want these simplifications, but of course, I was calculating knight c3, things like this, just white should still be slightly better here. Even it's knight e5, just drop the queen, and you are fully developed. You should be better. Yeah, so I took my time. I took here, and then he surprised me with knight d5, and I was quite happy here. And then I went e4, e5, knight bd2. Engine says knight c3 is better. Why knight c3? Maybe just to threaten to capture, actually. I don't know, actually. Knight c3, let's see. Yeah, black doesn't have really a nice move. Let's say he goes there, queen d3, and it still shows that knight's going here. So I couldn't see the huge difference here. Maybe there's some extra opportunity that black has with maybe two, but okay. Oh, c5 is possible, right? That's the whole point. c5 is a possibility here. This is black's best chance just to free himself up. White is, of course, still better, but okay. I was thinking about knight e4, but the e5 pawn needs to be watched. Yeah, this is at least black is in the game here. C5 was necessary. He went rook a6. That of course is now almost like a blunder, right? So now I stop him from playing c5. The rook went to b6. His problem is his bishop. He cannot get his bishop out nicely, even if he plays b5 and I just drop back somewhere. This bishop is still quite poor. So he went rook b6. I drop back, and I've got the ideal position. And my opponent plays. I think the best practical chance here is just to play f5 and ask, am I going to open up the position? I can put my knight on d6, but again, I was just thinking, this is one of my problems that irritate me so much. I have a dream position, but I don't know what to do. Where am I going to win the game? But I should just put the knight on d6 and think and play the game and let my opponent stress about. But instead, I wanted to be more direct. I captured, still winning, +2.5. The engine says this is fantastic. Knight d3 apparently slightly better. Some trades, rook f6. Okay, knight g5. Huge threats. Rook g6. And yeah, I make a bit of a mistake. f4. Apparently h4 is way better, and this is +3.7. Aha. Okay, this is the point. Why did I not think about it in this way? Because I was trying to make this idea work during the game, which is knight takes h7 and h5. Right. This is the point. This is why it's so powerful. I played f4 in the game, and I was trying to figure out, how do I make this work? If I go h4 and I take here, then g3 is hanging. So f4 was just a silly move. Okay, so now I thought that I was just be winning some way automatically, but the longer he played, the more I realized I don't, and I'm spending more time and I'm putting myself under pressure. Remember, this is what I was talking about with the Watu game as well. I keep on thinking too long. Even in this completely winning position, I'm thinking too long. Of course, I'm rusty, I'm not in great shape, and I'm starting to not be confident anymore. I'm trying to find some simplification, and I trade queens here, 95, and I find a way to win a pawn, but it's not the cleanest way. So, I mean, there's lots of ways over here that I could have played. What does the engine say? Instead of knight f3, I could have won queen e5. I mean, this was the time to do it. Because he has no rook d8 here yet, and if he trades, the rook is kind of boxed in. That was the moment for me to do that. So anyway, the game continued. We got into this end game. I was already not feeling great here about this position. My opponent played a nice practical move here. I'm an upper pawn, but it's difficult to convert, at least from my point of view. And a4 is a mistake, apparently king f2 or d1. And both of us did not play the most accurate here. And I would say here's the last moment now. I've got 8 minutes left. He's got 8 minutes left. I'm very nervous. I don't want to lose. I want to get into the tournament. I haven't been playing for months. I'm not completely confident with my ability to calculate and use the little time that I have. So yeah, I kind of just cop out here. I play safe. Of course, the pawn is hanging on b6. I go rook here. You can see the engine doesn't like it, right? It's just equal now, quite slightly better. Of course, I saw this, but I was kind of worried about the rooks that's hanging on. The knight's pinned here, the knight's pinned in that way. And I was thinking, if he moves the king out of the way, of course, he cannot play knight e7 right now or something, because there's a check. If he moves the king out of the way, even if I protect this rook, what if he captures over there or something? But the funny thing is, with these nerves and everything, I mean, there's a pin there, but I can take the knight because both rooks are hanging. He takes this rook, I take that rook. He takes this rook, I take that rook. So it's a small calculation error. I wasn't willing to go into it because of the nerves and fatigue and everything. So yeah, this is basically where I threw away the game. This is very poor of me. Obviously, I need to play more and train my calculation and be confident. And so after this, my opponent played excellent, got his pawn back. And yeah, this end game, I had to actually block for a while here, and it just simply equalized very easily, and the game was drawn. Hats off to my opponent for defending like he defended like a beast, right? So I myself didn't play so great. I should have won the game, huge advantage, but yeah. So that's round 3, and let's go on to round 4. Round 4, I was paired up against Ethan Samuels, a very promising youngster. I love the way he plays. He's got a lot of energy. He's dangerous. and I had the black pieces. So let's see. So Ethan also tricky. He doesn't always just play what you want him to play. So he likes this Jobava London with d4, knight c3, and bishop f4. But here he goes e4. And I surprised him a bit. Yeah, I played e5. I didn't want to go into his prep. I saw he play some c3 Sicilian stuff. I mean, I was expecting him to do some surprise me Sicilian. So I went e5, trying to keep it solid. Knight c3. So it's some Vienna, right? Knight c6. And I think one of the main moves is knight a5, catching this bishop. But of course, he would know this. Well, in fact, he just knows this because I don't know what white should play. I think I've seen people play this. And then put the knight on e2 and b3. And white has got some light square domination. But black is doing good. Right? It's just a position, right? But instead, I tried to play something that's maybe a bit less expected, allowing white to go f4 if he wants to. But my opponent, I was ready for f4, right? Or knight f3. And this is a symmetrical type of Italian. My opponent played h3, and this completely surprised me. I didn't know what to do here. It's some very subtle ideas here involved because my opponent wants to do this and get to the square, right? He's got f4 still as a possibility, but also we need to watch out for the pin. So I don't want to play h6 because h6 kind of allows this later on. It becomes more difficult to play g6. Of course, it's going to go knight e2, castle, king h1, and f4 ideas, and then knight c3. But I don't want to have this pawn on h6 if he's going to go for this plan. I'd much rather play d6 and bishop e6 and do that. So then I had to consider playing f4 or even knight f3. So at the end of the day, I played a6. And okay, we can discuss these deep subtleties again on another day. But he went a3. I thought that wasn't too critical, and now I got what I wanted. And I thought that I'm actually doing I was quite happy with my position already. He goes knight e5. He's got nothing left to do, right? If he captures over here, then this whole plan of f4 is not powerful anymore, especially my bishop there if he intends to castle first. And the pin isn't strong, and the knight g3 idea is gone. So here black is completely fine. So instead, he goes knight e5, but this gives me an opportunity to give him double pawns. Of course, he doesn't want to let go of his good bishop over there, but now the bishop doesn't look good anymore. I'm attacking the pawn. And yeah, I could see he was not that happy. He went knight c3. I've got some control of the position already. But yeah, I think I didn't play a proper move. Let's see what the engine says. I keep on forgetting to see what the engine says. So I went knight f5. It's still okay. It's still slightly... Okay, it's minus 0.1. It's equal, right? But engine gives bishop d4. I saw this move, but I thought queen f3 protecting the pawn. But the engine says that let's give this guy some double pawns. Castle. Let's play with the knights versus the bishops, and he's got, two sets of double pawns. Black is slightly better. Let's say castle. What are we going to do? Knight d7, and you can play f5 potentially. What's the plan here? What should white do? This bishop doesn't have squares over here. Let's say white just does bishop d2. Yeah, now it says f5, b5. Black has got choices here. Probably the best way that I should have continued there. I didn't take that to consider that too seriously. So also knight g6 was an idea. b5 also is on the card. So I went knight f5. My opponent went castling. I think knight f5 is just a mistake because here after king h2, my opponent is eventually going to play knight e4 with some threat over there. This knight is going to get kicked. And the knight doesn't have an easy square. If he gets here, he's going to get trapped with c3 eventually. So my knight is poorly placed. The engine says knight e7 is the top move here. White is planning f4 as well. So I already felt the heat. I felt I was worse. b5, bishop drops back. My reason for this is once knight e4 happens and I trade, the bishop can return to this diagonal. You guys will see in a moment what I mean. I want this bishop locked out for just a few more moments. Knight e4. Engine says I should not trade bishop e6 and just brace yourself here. Yeah, white is better, but white's going to play c3. White can play b4 at some point. So if he wants to, but I captured, and yeah, I thought that I was much worse. And the engine agrees that it's 0.6. And yeah, I felt like my opponent needs to play. Okay, so if you look at black's position, my light squares are weak, right? I cannot play on the queen side. He's got a light square bishop. He's got the two bishops. He's going to smash me on the queen side. Eventually, something like this is possible, right? Or maybe even c3. And this bishop should just stand on d3, and then you start opening up the light squares. The pawn can be on c3. Where does black's counterplay lie? I cannot play c6. It's opening up the light squares. This bishop is smiling. What do? I can't push this. I have to play f5 to play with my pieces here. But f5 is opening up the light squares. All right, so I thought that he should play c3 over here. And if I go f5, then this bishop is just going to be smiling. And he's got already ideas of queen d3. This is horrible for black, right? Engine says he can still keep on playing. It's plus 0.5, but it's really, really poor. Engine even says bishop b1 is best move here. The whole point is white is just preparing himself for black playing f5. So yeah, my opponent played queen e2 there, which was a bit of a relief for me, but it's still happening, right? I'm sure he's aware that I want to play f5. I go queen d7, I connect my rooks, thinking about playing rook takes f5 after f5 and doubling up. Bishop d2, I go knight g6. So my opponent is giving me some hopes here to cook up something, and I was hoping that he would play g3 to stop this, and then I'm going f5. And because he hasn't played c3 yet, I was intending queen takes f5, he thinks this, and if he does something like c3 with that, then I'm just in time to play e4 and control some light squares. So if he goes bishop b1, go to a8, the knight wants to do stuff over there. Right? So this was my hopes. But of course, my opponent is a strong player. After knight c6, he doesn't mind knight f4, he goes b4. I thought maybe c3 again. But b4 says engine likes b4 as well. Bishop b6, and then he goes c4. So the engine likes this. I at least have the square for my bishop, but that's not the end of the world for white. And he's trying to smash me on the queen side, right? So I'm desperate now. I go knight f4. The queen moves. He doesn't want to go into opposite color bishop endgame, right? And then I take on c4. The engine says I need to go a5 immediately. But it's better for white. I take. And yeah, he kind of flinches. Bishop takes c4, and yeah, white is better. I was intending maybe to go a5. Bishop takes c4, a5. And white is doing great. See, the engine gives f5. It's still, f5 doesn't do anything. It's not threatening anything. So I'm worse. I'm close to losing. But here my opponent thought, okay, let me play rook c1. This is what he did. Maybe he wants to double up on c file or something. But this gave me an opportunity to play a5. And now he realized that I want to take on b4, and then there's still stuff happening over here. And okay, but all of a sudden now his rook is on c1 instead of a1, and he's given me the open a file as counterplay. I was so relieved that I have something active to do. And I'm going to double up. Notice my bishop on b6 is a monster. And if we trade dark squared bishops, if it does that, right, then again this theme of bad bishop. This light squared bishop is nice as a bishop pair weapon, but alone, my knight on f4 versus that bishop is a very nice thing to have in an end game or even in the middle game. If you can sense, if you realize the bishop is technically bad. So my opponent can't even trade his dark squared bishop for my best piece, it seems. So, by the way, this bishop is also technically bad, by the way. I don't want it in the end game because it's not capturing anything, right? In the middle game, it's a very powerful attacking piece. In the end game, I have a technically bad bishop, so we need to keep that in mind. Rook a4, I want to double up. He goes bishop b3, I pin the bishop. He goes rook there, I double up. Takes. Bishop c1. And yeah, I missed an opportunity. I saw the move afterward. I, of course, realized the rook is hanging. I moved my rook. I'm still better, of course, but minimally. Actually, I didn't feel like I'm completely better. I was just happy that I had activity. But yeah, I could have played queen b5 immediately. Hitting the rook, so if takes over there, then I take over there, and all of a sudden, I've got a winning attack. I've got a winning attack all of a sudden. So he needs to play something like rook d1, and then I move my rook. So I just included this active placement of my queen. So, okay, I went rook a8. this was a very strange move. I wasn't sure what this is all about. Maybe a rook d1 or something. It's already difficult. He cannot take here freely and win a pawn because of queen b5. And this is hanging. And again, bishops of opposite color. My bishop is much more active than his. So I'm happy here. But still, it was still playable. He went rook g1. Now I started getting ambitious. Queen b5. I want to invade on the queen side. Now he decided he cannot tolerate this knight anymore. Because I'm even threatening ideas of knight e2, getting rid of that bishop over there. I have queen d3, queen e2 ideas with the knight controlling his way. So he chopped it off. And yeah, I just got a bit nervous. I felt so confident. I got up and I walked around. But when I was walking, I realized, wait a minute, does my opponent not have e5? Because now if I don't capture the pawn, if I take here, he has e6, and all of a sudden my king is exposed. So if I capture, it's d6 to my rook. And I thought that this was unnecessary complication. And I see the engine says it's equal, minimally better for black, but it's equal. I have to move my rook. And the point is that white has gotten rid of all of his pawns, but at least his bishop is active. His bishop is super active. It's something, right? So, for instance, the engine gives queen e8 or something. If I grab here, all of a sudden takes, and it's a sample line of what could happen, right? So, in opposite color bishop positions, you must activate your bishop at all costs, even sacrificing a couple of pawns. By the way, the engine says I could have grabbed here e6 and then I'll just continue. Yeah, I was a bit worried about this. King f8. You don't need to take immediately. Of course, if you take here, I take there. White, black is again slightly better. This would have been the best practical chance. My opponent went g3. Now I was super happy. I could capture. He was, of course, I thought he was going to play queen takes. But the point is that I'm going to stop checkmate my bishop. And yeah, things are collapsing now for him. He went rook takes g3. I went bishop d4 anyway. And now I'm winning. Why am I winning? The bishop is powerful. He can sit on e5 as well. His king is exposed. The pawn is weak. My rook is active. Yeah. So I realized that I'm winning, but I need to still play some good moves here. Queen e2. What was the best here? g6 apparently. But okay. Yeah, this was a big shift in evaluation. I'm still better, but yeah, apparently I should have just played g6 and it's crushed me immediately. There's some problems in white's position. There's no sacrifice there because I'm going to block eventually. And it's just too much pressure on f2. Cannot play a rook here. And yeah, something similar happened in the game. But okay, I first played rook e8. We are in the time scramble. I've got 2 minutes. He's got 3. Then g6 came. I need to not blunder my rook. Queen f3. Keep the... Of course, I don't want to trade queens. I want to keep the tension. He's just defending h5 and his rook is trapped, right? King g7 and bishop f6. Bishop g5, we trade, and yeah, I'm just up in exchange. I still managed to not play this confidently, but nervy, but eventually I've discovered a plan here now. As soon as my rook gets active, then it's just over, and I'm forcing a queen trade, king f1 probably, I'll go g3, and yeah. That was that. So that was my round 4 game. A bit of an up and down seesaw game. I think my young opponent, Ethan, very, very promising player. He must, I think, the subtleties there. I think he should have just played c3 and bishop b1 in that position. Really just to cut out. He should have, what's the word? He should have squeezed me, man. He should have strangled me there. Take away all my counterplay first and then enjoy his long-term advantage of the bishop pair and just smash me on the queen side. So, yeah, good game over there. And that was my round 4 game. Going to round 5. So I was in high spirits. But that round 4 game against Ethan, I, of course, played till the end. Now, the venue is about 35 minutes drive from me. And when I finished the game, I realized that I drove home, but then I realized I need to eat as well, and I need to rest. I laid on my bed for like 20 minutes. I couldn't sleep actually. Then I needed to get up and drive back to the venue. So I was tired, and I'm playing Watu Kobese. I mean, this was not the best state to play him in. I'm tired. Watu had an easy game, by the way. He played my previous round opponent, Andre Schutte, and he got a nice, easy, relaxing win there. I think Schutte just had a bad opening there. And so this was all against me. I felt like, okay, I need to just settle into the game. I didn't have time to prepare. Usually I have some bombs prepared for Watu. I usually put him under pressure in the opening. This time around, let's see what happened. I'm playing on board 2. I got the white pieces. So usually, Watu and I, we've had some D4 discussions. Played a lot of King's Indian defenses against me. Also some Tarash openings. So, but yeah, I decided to go E4 just to surprise him. And so he was thinking a bit here. And then, of course, Watu's main move is E5, but he plays the Sicilian as well. So he plays the Sicilian to surprise me as well, countering it, right? So I had to, so I continued knight F3. E6 was a surprise. Usually Watu plays like knight C6. And yeah, I would expect him to play knight C6. So he went E6, takes, and A6. So now I'm thinking, the Sicilian can't. So I was contemplating. Yeah, I thought for a long time because I'm already completely unprepared for this. Tired. Had a long game against Ethan. I was thinking about C4. C4 is probably my most exciting or most principled move. I would say not exciting, but most principled move. But also I've played a lot of Bishop D3 moves here. I played it against Robert Kobese. Interesting game at Capablanca. I played it against Daniel Barish. And I'm pretty sure Watu was ready for this. This is a very sharp game. With Bishop D3, I think something like Queen C7, Castle, and Knight F6, and Queen E2, threatening E5 and D6. And this is my game against Kobese, I think, many years ago. I'm threatening not threatening, but I want to play F4, B5, something like this. Knight C3, Bishop D2 is a nice subtlety here, keeping this open. And something like this. I think Kobese played B4 and then I went knight E2 and knight F2. Or did he play H5? I have this position against a couple of players. Even Donovan van der Heever had some final SA Open round. Black has this idea. Black doesn't want to castle into this. So Black a lot of times plays H5. Ideas of knight G4, H4, and these type of things. So very complicated struggle. It's a hard fight, and you need to have energy to play games like this, right? That's why if you want to play nice and easy game, probably play D4, right? So I don't know. I should have played D4, but I didn't want to because of my state, right? But I didn't want to go into Watu's prep. So I surprised him, but he surprised me here, and so I decided not to go into that complicatedness. I went C4. It's more about the structure, but I was aware that this hedgehog is not the easiest way for White to win if Black is not ambitious as well, right? Well, both sides. Okay, White is better, but you need to have a lot of energy to maneuver and this and that. Check out our previous video, guys, on the default case. We explain this whole structure and everything. But yeah, just my own take. So D6, Bishop E2. I was already thinking here about things. A long time ago, I had some prep with the engine where White plays some, I was trying to figure out, is it early F4, F5? Something that's very aggressive to smash Black. I think Black also a lot of times, he surprised me with this D6. I thought he was going to go Queen C7. I think there was something here about F4 and this at F5, but I couldn't figure it out. In fact, that's the incorrect way of doing it. There's some, F4, F5 was this some G4 business if Black does this. So I was trying to recollect, but I couldn't. So then I thought, okay, let me stick to a more solid way of playing. I cannot risk. Like, Watu is such a dangerous player. If you are tired and you don't know exactly what you are doing, you're going to get smashed, right? Remember, Watu had an early game as well, early in the day. I just finished my game and I drove up and down. So Bishop E2. Wait, this is a position. So nice D6, Bishop E2. This, Bishop E3. And the Queen D2 and F3. So, and Knight BD7. So every time I was taking my time a bit, and if you notice the timestamps, I'm on 1 hour and 9 minutes. He's on 1 hour 24 minutes. This is dangerous. I cannot go down the clock so much, and we just started the game. So I need to start playing more practical. I need to play faster. I had these games that I've had in the past. Again, it's in our previous video against Daniel Jere and Chatumba Mwale, both strong IMs from Zambia, and more games, of course. But the stock standard ideas are to go rook here, play b3, and so on. Very slow maneuvering again. But there was this idea that I saw from Strikovic. I'm sure Strikovic didn't create it, but I saw him play this in some, I don't know, it's a Capablanca game or something, where he played a4 and a5. And I was trying to figure out, when do I do this? Do I play a4 now? Do I play king h1? Do I play a4? Do I first put my rook somewhere? And let's switch on the engine. I think the engine said that you should first play something like rook fc1. So let's see. Let's check a4 now. a4 is fine, right? But I was wondering, what's the difference with queen c7 not being on c? Yeah. Oh, okay. So this is the point. Yeah, so the point of a4 was to go a5, right? And then takes, and then knight b3. And you want to recollect the pawn. You want to collect the pawn back here, right? But here, black has an opportunity to play d5. Look at the subtleties, guys. You can get smashed if you don't know what you are doing. You need to calculate constantly every move white plays. You have to calculate d5. This is the whole point. This is why it's a complicated position. Black is just waiting to play d5 or b5 and blast open the position, right? So, in fact, after a5 and takes, white should actually before a5. White should first play rook fc1. So this I wasn't sure about. Right? It looks like a weird move to put the rook there, not on d1. I had some vague memory, but this is why I was thinking so long. And now if black plays some normal move here, let's say rook c8. So this is your typical setup for black, right? Then I have a5. There's no b5. Capture, knight b3. And notice d5 is not possible now because of the rook on c1. So this is the point. And you'll most likely get a position like this. Very nice looking for white. And this is this modern idea that I was trying to recollect. Why am I trying to recollect it? Why am I not sure of it? Because I haven't been playing a lot of e4 games, right? So yeah. But anyways, so this is what was making me think for so long. I can't just play a normal move like rook c1 or rook d1. Then that plan of a4, a5 is out of the window. Right? And I'm not sure what Watu has in mind. He's playing an opening that I didn't expect him to do. He must have something in mind, right? So instead, I go king h1. I'm trying to see what he wants to do. Right? It's always good to get the king off the diagonal of there. And he goes king h8. By the way, after knight bd7, he offered me the draw. And I was tired. I was happy because he was supposed. I'm in an unfamiliar position. And unfamiliar position. I'm tired, playing one of the top seeds. I have a good tournament going. I want to tee myself up nicely. Most likely we can play the GM, one of us next. But I'm happy to score a draw against a strong player like this. And I was surprised he offered me the draw. Right? So, yeah, no pre-arrangements, guys. No pre-arrangements. I did not even talk to Watu for the day. Right? So we are always willing to play. And yeah, he offered me the draw, and then I accepted, and then Andrew Telmarcus, the arbiter, came, and he said, guys, this is not possible because of the 30-move rule. And we're like, oh, okay. I was surprised. I never read the brochure. So I was like, okay, now we need to play. And with all of that, now I played king h1 after this, so we had to play on, and Watu played king h8. And please go and watch the video that we released, right? We explained the subtleties of this. King h8, yes, there's an idea of rook g8 and g5 and g4, but black is causing some damage to himself by doing that. Usually black needs to wait for white to expand a bit somewhere or do something weird, and then you can do something drastic. But I would love for black to do this, and I haven't weakened my position yet, right? So, but just in case, if he goes for that, I go king g1 because once g5 happens, rook g8, g5, I want to go with this plan of g3 and counter with that. I don't want my king on that square on h1. So what move, if you don't want me to play king g1, what move must I play? Must I go rook d1, a normal looking move, or rook c1? Then I don't have a4, a5. Must I go rook d1 over here? But I need to be ready for this idea. I want my rook here. So what do I do? Do I go b4 and expand? I don't have a straightforward plan. This is the nature of the opening of this line, right? And you need to have energy to figure it out. And I simply didn't have energy. So I am willing to fight. I want my opponent to expose his idea. I want him to play g5 and g4. Give me something to work with. Right now, we all know the reputation of this hedge. They call it the hedgehog structure, right? He's coiled up. It's very solid. White cannot easily break through. So I look at the timestamps. I'm almost half an hour behind on the clock. I cannot be thinking long here. I'm burning out. So I need to play faster. So I play a practical move. I want to see my opponent's hands. And he goes King G8. I'm happy because I don't know what to do here. I don't want to spend more energy. He's playing fast. I don't want to think another 10 minutes. And then he might decide to play on and try to beat me with the time difference. So he goes King G8. Of course, in the video, we explain why he played King G8 as well. It's something similar. He's also tired. He doesn't want to expose his hand as well. But this is how the repetition happened. All right. So, of course, if both sides were in a more fighting spirited mood, you could try to, but the more you press, the more you open yourself up. Yeah. And my tournament situation and the situation of the day, the context of me being tired, playing against one of the best players ever in South African history. I've lost so many games against this guy by pressing unnecessarily, and this was not the day for me to do that. And I wanted to see what he wants to do in his position. Right? So it's the nature of the position. There's a lot of draws that happen in this line. To be honest, if I want to play for a win against a weaker player, I'm not playing the Maroxy bind. I would rather play the Bishop D3 line, play something more dynamic. But this one, it's not so easy. It's not so straightforward. Right? So that's my tournament basically, guys. After this, the arbiter on the floor, Andrew Telmarcus, he came again and he accepted the threefold repetition. Check out the Fide Arbiters Manual, chapter 31. What article? Article 9.1, chapter 31. Right? Check it out. It says with these Sophia rules, the arbiter has to accept the threefold repetition. It's just how it is, right? So, in fact, the arbiter did accept it, and we went off, we went home, everything. And then 2 hours later, we got a notice that the chief arbiter, Ricardo Manar, is basically overruling this. I don't know how he can do that. He's going against the FIDE handbook. And we got the letter saying that our moves are nonsensical. Guys, how is this nonsensical? I've just explained the strategy here. Right? I've explained the context. What do you want me to do? Right? So we are not professional pre-arrangers. You see people pre-arrange all the time. You see 30, 40 moves. If we wanted to pre-arrange, we could have picked out something to do. We would have shuffled around for 30 moves and taken the draw. Guys, this is not the way to go. I am an honest player. Watu's an honest player. And we just honestly play the game. I came there tired but willing to play, and this was the conclusion. All right. So and then also people I see a comment in the previous videos chat saying that okay, this wasn't forced. It was practically forced. Okay, it was practically forced because imagine you are not pre-arranging. Imagine you are an honest chess player. You came to play a game and you get punished by half a point while you are leading in the tournament. How is this possible? You are going against your principles, accepting that, right? So this is a matter of principle, and I couldn't continue the tournament being punished for something that I didn't do, right? So this is my story, guys. This is my Cape Town Masters. I was getting excited. I'm trying to get back into it. I haven't played a lot of chess in a long time, and somehow I need to get back into it. But this is a big blow, not only financially. We missed a chance to make money. Psychologically, reputation. I mean, my students need to ask me, "What's this? Why did I withdraw from the event?" Right? How students are going to ask me, "How did you do in the event?" Right? I lost time. I spent 3 days traveling to the event, whereas I could have been working. Right? Yeah, it's also a blow just for my momentum. When's the next good tournament going to happen in Cape Town? Right? So all of these factors. Very disappointing, and I hope you, as the viewers, can understand where I'm coming from. Make up your own mind as well, and please feel free to leave the comments. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button as well, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, and we will see you for the next one. Cheers, guys.